Hello, welcome to the Michael Sisco show. Sorry I'm late. I was arguing in Telegram, but I got caught up in an argument, and sometimes you just have to do it. You just have to be late. But welcome back to the Michael Sisco show. I am your host, Michael Sisco. Good. I had a little bit of trouble figuring. I woke up this morning. I was like, "What am I going to talk about?" But I think relevant today is understanding the importance of free speech and kind of how that, how it's not necessarily of. I know I've even argued in the past. It's like just as a principle in and of itself, it's not really a thing. It's not really a virtue, so to speak. It's not even a value, but it is a necessary utility, um, especially for us traditionalists, dissidents, and whatnot. It is something that we have to fight for, because if we don't, well, we're just going to lose. Entropy is all set up. We're good to go there. Hang on, let me just see if there's some drama going on over here. Just gonna clean some stuff up in these chats. So, doing my admin duties. We can't have people arguing vehemently against nationalism. Bad. So, screw these people. I don't have an actual copy of the book, but because I sold the one that I was using as the demo, and then we sold another copy of the Bowl of Tears and Solace just this morning. So pick up your copy at saintsedwardmedia.com. Great sci-fi book and just a good fiction, and it's kind of, I would compare it to, it's kind of C.S. Lewis-esque, but by a modern author named Garth T. Ogle, and he is writing is the sequel to it. So there's that, and I forgot to put the link for the trad forum in the description, but you can find it on Eventbrite, or just shoot me an email, saintsedward@protonmail.com. I'll send you the information on how to get your ticket. You can either do it through Eventbrite, or you can send us some. You can pay with crypto if you want to do that. There are ways to do that as well. So, but why is free speech important for us as dissidents, as traditionalist Christians, as Orthodox Christians? How do we approach this? Well, like I said, the only form of government that has the blessing of the Orthodox Church is monarchy, right? So for us, free speech is not a virtue that can stand on itself as this independent, like, this is a virtue, this is a value. That's not how we view it. But we don't live in a authoritarian system in which the populace isn't politicized. We do live in a representative republic. The population is politicized, and that they actually play an active role in the political system. So this is not an argument on whether that's good or bad today, but that is the reality in which we live. So in our society, everyone is basically part of the political process. And so it is important in a representative republic that we do have the ability to advocate for our own interests. And for a lot of people, aside from just casting your vote, well, that means that we have to be able to put our political positions out there. And my opinion as a traditionalist and a Christian is that the First Amendment was intended by the founders who wrote the Constitution, that the freedom of speech is supposed to apply to political dissent, to political speech, not necessarily, certainly does not apply to degenerate images or actions on camera, such as pornography. Of course, there would be many libertarians and such, and liberals who would disagree with me. That's not how I perceive it. I think that decency laws fall well within the purview of freedom of speech protections. So I would view, but I certainly, the suppression of political speech is a direct violation of such. And frankly, I don't think it was the intention of the founders for these protections to be limited to just the government. Certainly, it's for the public forum, the public square. The public square now has become social media, Twitter, Facebook, all these big tech platforms. Well, these are places that really, frankly, are essential to our election process now. Election results hinge on a candidate's ability to build their social media following, to get their message out without the gatekeepers of the mainstream media deciding what to say. It's a way for the candidate to actually get his voice to the people directly, and so I would say that our speech being infringed on big tech is a violation of it is unconstitutional. I don't think that applies. I think it should be extended to that. So, and I have actually received an education on the Constitution. I've taken classes on it. Because I've run campaigns, I have to have an understanding of the Constitution. Now, of course, I'm not a constitutional lawyer, so my opinion is my opinion. It is not a legal opinion. It is not binding, but it is what it is. But I mean, I think we should look and take a sober look at we all need to understand how critical this is. So what is happening to people with dissenting views right now? Well, we are being banned from major platforms. We are being demonetized and censored. I just had a video taken off of YouTube for basically expressing I don't even want to say because I don't want to get this episode demonetized, but for expressing dissent on a certain passport related to a medical procedure that they want to make mandatory on all U.S. citizens to participate in commerce. And my last episode, just because I think I read a news article about it as well, was demonetized. But it goes further than that. We are being fired from our jobs, being made unemployable with like scarlet letters if we just express our religious positions on anything, really. Like if we express our orthodox position on gay marriage, for instance, in public, there are many employers that will fire you, especially if you work for a mega corporation. We are being banned from payment processors. Essential life functioning thing. I mean, especially this really, I think, mostly affects businesses, people with businesses, and content creators who rely on payment processors for support. We're being banned by credit cards like MasterCard and Visa. We are being banned by banks, debanked. So imagine trying to survive in a modern society without access to a bank or a credit card, or a debit card, or a payment processor, where half of our life is online now. Essential functions have been put on the internet, and this is what we have to deal with. Um, Also, we have people like Laura Loomer banned from rideshare services, and I'm even dated from banned from dating websites, not because of any of my behavior on the website, but because of hit pieces and smear pieces written about me by far left, by I think it was the Daily Beast and Alex Soros's How to Fight Anti-Semitism, and stupid far left articles come out and smear me, and then I get banned from dating websites. So they don't, because they don't want me getting married and having babies. They don't want me to get married and they don't want me reproducing, because they don't want they don't want my genes in the gene pool. They just don't want that, because they know that if my genes get in the gene pool, that the more children I have with a based waifu, which frankly is not on the website that they banned me from. So, but I mean, it's the point of the matter. They know that my genetic makeup is a threat, and they know that I'm gonna raise Christ-filled kids and Christian Orthodox Christians that are gonna grow up to be these based forces of the future, and they know, and they don't want that. So, Doorman360 says, the big tech monopolies have a federal funding. They are private entities created by public money. They should at least be treated as publishers, but that's how they act. Yeah, I mean, they basically play this whole loophole game where the federal government, the establishment, the regime knows that they can't explicitly violate the Constitution by banning you or punishing you for your speech, so they govern us by proxy through the public corporations. But you're absolutely right. We have to close that loophole in their ability to govern us in proxy for the government. Doorman 360 says Michael Sisco's banned from love. It's okay, dude. Those websites are terrible anyways. It's true. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, where else am I gonna go find single moms now with like 3 kids from 3 different dudes? So that's not to say I'm not like opposed to dating a woman with kids. A lot depends on the circumstances, and how does she live now? Is she repentant? Is there's a lot that goes into that. I don't want to be too judgmental. It's just a joke, Of course, I mean, I am at 33, not married. So I'm not really in a place to be too judgmental, especially if there's like a woman who's living a very pious life now and is repentant of her past and sins. Like, who am I to be like, oh no? But so what do we what do we do about, how can we counter this phenomenon, this suppression of our speech? What can we do as traditionalists and dissidents? Well, we can pressure, for one. We can move to platforms and support them like Gab. There's alt tech. So I'm on Twitch, which is built off of a blockchain, which means it's literally impossible to deplatform you, and you own all of your data, so you can go on Twitch. So go find me on Twitch. It's kind of like Twitter. Get on Gab. We want to support Gab and give Gab money. Send him money. You can make a pro account, get verified. And we can also, find an employer that is sympathetic to your views, and or you can you know not get fired for being a traditionalist or a dissident or whatnot. So actually actively look for someone that that this can actually be part of, because when you do a job interview, it's not always just them. You're also trying to see, is this someone that I want to work for. And it actually plays a bit of a psychological, it's impressive to them. Like if it's just one-sided, where it's like the employer is gauging you completely and you're not gauging them, well, then that makes you psychologically, in their head, you're less valuable of a candidate. But if you are also gauging them as to whether you want to work for them, well, that's kind of psychologically, that pushes you up to another level in their mind, right? So there's that. Also, your elected officials at every level. They need to understand that they need to get serious about combating tech censorship and free speech violations, and political persecution, such as us getting fired, right? That sort of thing. They need to get serious about this, and we need to let them know that they need to take this seriously. And so when I say at every level, I mean county officials, your county executive, your county rep, your state executive, your state rep, your congressman, and your senator. And that you need to be in their ear, sending them emails, sending them letters, calling their office, and really put the pressure on these people and let them know that, we will primary them if they don't get serious about censorship and political persecution. So, and I don't care what party they are, if they are Democrat, Republican, you need to be in their ear, expressing your opinion and being very loud and annoying about it. And if you can, I mean, I know I mentioned trying to find an employer that you don't think will fire you for your views, but if it's possible, become as self-sufficient as you can. This is important. So I know entrepreneurship is not for everybody, so that's why I also made the other suggestion that I did. But don't forget, switch to these alt tech platforms. There's Gab, there's Twitch. I know I've heard some bad things about Telegram lately, but until they really start censoring people that aren't threatening violence, still a good place in my opinion. So I'm on Telegram, I'm on Gab, I'm on Twitch, I'm on all of these alt platforms. But another thing that you need to think about is how to survive while being debanked. Alternatives to traditional banking is something that you need to think about. And I might be doing a show on this. I'm probably going to have to bring a guest in. But you can look in, especially for payment processors, I think it was a little easier already to do with cryptocurrency and such. But you can also look into banking alternatives. I know that there's crypto cash cards, and so there are alternatives to banking, but certainly don't be with the big banks like Wells Fargo and Bank of America and Chase. These people will actually debank you ruthlessly, and they don't care. Local banks are probably far superior to big banks. So local credit union, I'm not a fan of credit unions, but local banks, local credit unions, these are better than these big banks, Wells Fargo, Chase, and all of them. So definitely switch to local, but look for alternatives. look to alternative places to hold your money and your assets. I don't have all the answers for you right now, but I will make it a point to try and feature this with the guests on the show to figure this out, figure out what we can do about that. But also, don't forget, pick up your copy of The Bowl of Tears and Solace on saintsedwardmedia.com. Sales have been picking up lately. So yeah. The Trad Forum, also don't forget to get your ticket for that. It's on Eventbrite. I forgot to put it in the description to the video, but you can certainly find it in the description for yesterday's video and almost every day before that. The Reese report says, and how would a leftist react if he was banned for his views? Just shows you that they can no longer see their own contradictions. Well, they would screech and they would cry and they would shout. And yeah. Of course, they say that we are whining, right? You're whiners, you're crybabies. But they take it we're obviously not whining enough, honestly. They take it to like an existential level, like for the most minute thing. The Reese report also says we could start a local/regional currency. Well, Reese, that would only work if we take my advice and build our local traditional strongholds. If we turn West Virginia into a Orthodox Utah, for instance, we could certainly try that. We could make a crypto version of it. We could build it on block. We could do that. We could maybe adopt a current altcoin like BSV or something. Those are our options for now, but we can't do local currency until we build our conservative strongholds and we fortify. We get out of these liberal areas. We relocate to a conservative state, at the very least, until we really build up our local communities to be conservative strongholds. I don't see how that's an option yet. So not a viable one yet until we do that. We got to take it at baby steps, one step at a time. I'm going to check entropy over here. No super chats yet. Don't hesitate to send super chats. March was a good month, but let's try to make April better because tomorrow is a big day for me. I start a project tomorrow that will have some pretty big implications. I will not be making the formal announcement tomorrow. So, but I will be in coming days on the, let's say March, probably on Monday or Tuesday is when more likely Tuesday is when I'll be making the big announcement formally for everybody to know and consume, and it'll be a big deal. I won't really be able to talk about it on this show, honestly, due to some regulations, federal regulations. I'm going to have to keep that a little bit separate. Yeah. So No says, grace and peace of Christ be with you all. Thank you. Likewise. So, but we can certainly use your support on Entropy. And if you want to send $10 or more, we will be open to, you can actually come on and do a live call. I'm about to cover the news. I'm going to drop the link. So if you want to send $10 or more to support the show, you can, which I prefer through Entropy, which you can find in the pinned chat. You can hop on the stream. But we're going to get into some of the latest news. The first story is actually related to kind of what we just talked about. America First commentator Jaden McNeil banned from Twitter, and Nick Fuentes has been suspended. Jaden McNeil, a popular America First live streamer and commentator, was banned from Twitter on Wednesday evening, with fellow commentator Nick Fuentes receiving a temporary suspension shortly after. McNeil's Twitter account, which had almost 30,000 followers, was permanently suspended on Wednesday at the time of writing. It is unclear exactly what reason Twitter gave for the ban. McNeil was best known for being founder of America First Students, an alternative banner for campus conservatives to organize under, as opposed to the other conservative student organizations that have been criticized for not fully aligning with the America First agenda. So, of course, you can follow Jaden McNeil on Telegram, t.me/Jaden P. McNeil. Trovo, he's on Trovo. Gab.com/Jaden McNeil. So he's on Gab as well. Ashley Goldberg, also known as Communism Kills, was banned from Twitter last year after questioning the mass removal of QAnon accounts from the site. I foresee a purge going on of everyone still on Twitter, Goldberg said Wednesday on McNeil's suspension. The timing is too coincidental. Goldenberg added that prior to her permanent ban, she only ever received one warning, which had been overruled. Shortly following Fuentes' tweet, the official America First updates account, which provides details regarding Fuentes' live show, America First, was also permanently banned, along with a number of other pro-America First accounts. Fuentes himself received a one-week temporary suspension within an hour of McNeil's removal, with zero reasons given by Twitter. It's a totally coordinated purge of AF people, Fuentes said on his Telegram account. We knew this would happen, already happened everywhere else, the America First commentator suggested. That the Southern Poverty Law Center, the leftist organization known for targeting conservatives, was behind the purge. SPLC has been gunning for me hard since January 6th, he added. Michelle Malkin, the longtime conservative commentator who aligned herself with America First, tweeted the following: McNeil's Twitter ban that the playing field is rigged. Before he was temporarily suspended from Twitter, Fuentes said that allies of the America First movement should grow our presence on a more permanent home like Gab or Telegram, and encourage everyone to create an account on the alt-tech platforms. I would agree. I would agree with that. And while we are on the subject, let's go ahead and, this is a good chance for me. I have an Odysee, which all of currently my YouTube videos are synced to Odysee, and so even this episode will upload to Odysee. But I am streaming on Bitwave and Trovo as alternatives right now. Trovo they have been suspending people. They have been showing signs of censorship lately. But I am streaming on Bitwave, right? And I don't think I put the links in here, but you can find me. I think it's bitwave.tv/Michael Sisco. And Trovo is the same. Whatever Trovo is /Michael Sisco. And you can find me on those platforms. In the event, I do have one warning from YouTube already. I don't have any strikes, but I have a warning. I've appealed it. And that was because of my opposition to a passport related to a medical procedure that they wanted to make mandatory. And I got a warning for spreading misinformation about a certain plague or a certain virus. And so it is what it is. If I get a strike, I will be suspended for a week. So it's pretty important that you follow me on, because the show will go on. The show's not going to stop. The live stream will be happening on these other platforms. It's pretty important that you follow me on Bitwave and Trovo and Odysee. Odysee will have live streaming at pretty soon, and that might become I think ultimately that's going to be the main home, the main place So that's going to be the main hub at some point, especially when YouTube makes the final acts and the final cut. Until then, I'm just gonna milk all the ad revenue that I can. Just gonna milk all the ad revenue, which isn't that much. We rely mostly on your support. I'd say 95% of the income from this show is all from you, from your support, and a very small amount comes from ad revenue. So, and then of course once we get banned, it's gonna all be from your support. But yeah, I think there is a sort of balkanization that needs to occur, frankly, because we already are basically two nations living in the same geographical territory. Two peoples of fundamentally different worldviews that are irreconcilable with the other. So naturally, one step towards, real. I don't really think balkanization in government is the ideal outcome. I don't want to see I don't think it's ideal to see the United States split up, but we have talked about secession being kind of inevitable, right? And that in order to have our interests preserved in such an event, well, we need strong GOP strongholds, which we need to take over the GOP. But we have to utilize the GOP for our own interests. We need to create these traditionalist and conservative strongholds by moving out of blue and purple states into solid red states and creating our communities. And I think one of the steps along the way to that is, well, the internet version of that is to leave these platforms, these places that obviously don't want us there anyways, but what they want to do is they want you to stay on and self-censor yourself. And they want you to moderate your own views so that you can stay on these platforms. But no, leave Twitter, leave Facebook. Now, my next project will require that I have these accounts. But basically, we're going to be trying to drive people to the alt pages, and who knows how long I'll even be allowed on them. So we have to leave these big tech platforms. We have to migrate over to these alt tech platforms, and that's what we have to do. We have to, before we can secede, we have to build our strongholds online, and these on Gab, on Twitch, on, I don't even want to say Parler because the Parler sucks, but you get my point. We have to migrate to our own strongholds on the internet, and then we have to migrate in real life to strongholds in real life in deep red states, and we have to do it. You got to move to West Virginia. Got to move to our West Virginia stronghold, because we are creating a West Virginia, Utah, an Orthodox Utah. We're going to make this the Orthodox state, the Ortho state, right? And preferably come to Congressional District 1. And if you can, move to Chester, West Virginia. That's the start. But anywhere in Congressional District 1 is fine. And West Virginia, just, if you can't get in Congressional District 1, well, you can go somewhere else. In West Virginia, we have a good community too in District 3, based around the monastery Holy Cross Hermitage. So, yeah, on to the next story. This is from the Epic Times. Joe Biden would strongly support moving baseball's All-Star game out of Atlanta over the Georgia election law. President Joe Biden on Wednesday said he would support Major League Baseball moving its All-Star game from Atlanta as a reprisal for a new election reform law passed by the state legislature and signed into law by Georgia Governor Brian Kemp. Just some background on this law. I mean, it's basically just preventing voter fraud from happening again. So Joe Biden's like, oh, well, he's mad because he can't commit fraud again. So they're basically punishing the state economically with baseball for passing a law that protects and fortifies elections against fraud. That's where we're at. He says, I think that today's professional athletes are acting incredibly responsibly. I would strongly support them doing that, Biden said. People look to them, their leaders. Look at what's happened with the NBA as well. Look at what's happened across the board. The people who've been victimized the most are the people that are the leaders in these various sports, and it's just not right. Biden, a Democrat who was speaking to ESPN, had been presented with remarks from Tony Clark, the chief executive of Major League Baseball Players Association. Clark told the Boston Globe last week that players are very much aware of the law, adding, as it relates to the All-Star game, we have not had a conversation with the league on that issue. If there is an opportunity to, we would look forward to having that conversation. The game is slated to take place on July 13th. Major League Baseball did not respond to a request for comment. The bill in question requires photograph identification for absentee voting, ramped up security for drop boxes, mandatory early voting dates. Georgia's House approved it 100-75, while the state Senate approved it 34-20. No Democrats supported the measure. Okay. So they want to paint this as voter suppression, but basically it's a bill that takes marginal measures, common sense stuff, honestly. You should have to be able to identify yourself to vote. You should have security at drop boxes. I don't even think you should have the drop boxes. And you should have dates that, if you're voting by mail, you should have to vote by a certain amount of time to avoid what happened in the election. But the Democrats, of course they're going to oppose this because they want to be able to cheat forever. And so this is basically an intimidation tactic against other states to adopt the same measure that Georgia did. It's basically, if you oppose this law, if you take measures to prevent voter fraud, we will punish you. The system will punish you. But frankly, I don't care about baseball anymore. I grew up I was a lifelong baseball fan. I grew up playing baseball, and I just don't care anymore. I care more about preserving my country. I care more about having fraud-free elections. And baseball and all the major sports, they lost me last season with their embrace of BLM and basically a Marxist organization and critical race theory. They lost me. I didn't watch a single game last year. And I'm a lifelong fan. Normie ball is no longer my thing. And it took them embracing this social justice, leftist stuff, the full embrace of BLM, who were rioting and destroying our cities all summer long. It took that to finally break free. Like, I don't watch it anymore. I don't care. We cannot allow the entertainment industry, corporations, these big, giant woke capitalist corporations, and professional sport athletes to basically steal our sovereign interest. So we can't take back the theft from 2020, but we can prevent it from ever happening again, so long as we don't allow these idiots to bully us. So, and Brian Kemp, I don't think he did enough while the steal was happening, but at least he signed this. He says, I was proud to sign the SB 202 to ensure elections in Georgia are secure, fair, and accessible. He said in a tweet, I appreciate the hard work of members of the General Assembly to make it easy to vote and hard to cheat. Joe Biden, on the other hand, has claimed that the law is racist, invoking Jim Crow measures that enforce racial segregation. He says this is Jim Crow on steroids. That's what they're doing in Georgia and 40 other states, Biden told ESPN. So preventing voter fraud is Jim Crow laws on steroids? It's tantamount to racial segregation? I mean, if you believe this stuff, you're a moron. You're an absolute moron. He says, imagine passing a law saying you cannot provide water or food for someone standing in line to vote. Can't do that. Come on, the president added. Or you're going to close a polling place at 5 o'clock when working people just get off. This is all about keeping working folks and ordinary folks that I grew up with from being able to vote. I mean, I haven't seen any of that. I haven't seen proposals from to close at 5 o'clock. The law prohibits people from providing money or gifts, including food and drink, to an elector at polling places. Well, that's reasonable. How long are you can eat before you come? So, however, poll workers can make self-service water from an unattended receptacle available to voters waiting in line. I mean, this is common sense. It's basically preventing people from bribing people to vote a certain way, or saying, hey, you get a gift if you vote for this person, but not that person. These are all very reasonable things. As the Epoch Times says here, points out there is no provision about polls closing at 5 p.m. So these people Biden himself is lying to the American public. They are lying to people. The hyperbole is phenomenal. It's just insane. This is not tantamount to segregation. Nobody is being barred from voting based upon race. We just don't want. They're lying because they want to keep committing voter fraud, but we're not going to let them. In contrast with Biden, former President Donald Trump has praised Georgia's new law. Congratulations to Georgia and the Georgia State Legislature on changing their voter rules and regulations. They learned from the travesty of the 2020 presidential election, which can never be allowed to happen again, he wrote in a statement last week. Too bad these changes could not have been done sooner. Yeah, too bad. You guys are being pretty quiet today. So, next big story. Now, of course, we're gonna see riots, because this is looking, this is from Big League Politics. Court evidence shows Derek Chauvin restrained George Floyd by placing a knee on his neck. On his back, not his neck. So photographic evidence produced during the murder case against former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin shows that he restrained serial felon George Floyd by placing his knee on Floyd's back rather than his neck. The Democrats, the fake news media, and even some weak, cowardly Republicans continue to spread the falsehood that Chauvin asphyxiated Floyd by placing his knee on his neck. Here's Liz Wheeler. Here's the kicker about George Floyd. Even if he was on lethal doses of drugs, even if he had a pre-existing heart condition, so she's basically saying none of that justifies Chauvin kneeling on his neck for multiple minutes. Well, Chauvin didn't kneel on his neck. This big lie has given Black Lives Matter terrorists a mandate to burn down cities in an orgy of destruction. If justice is served and Chauvin is acquitted, more neighborhoods will inevitably burn as the rule of law is replaced by the rule by mob. Big League Politics has reported on how witnesses against Chauvin are discrediting themselves and proving themselves to be biased political activists as the trial unfolds. A left-wing firefighter was dressed down in the court of law by a federal judge on Wednesday during the murder trial of former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin. Hennepin County Judge Peter Cahill humiliated Genevieve Hansen, an off-duty firefighter who watched in the crowd as serial felon George Floyd died because of her incredibly unprofessional behavior towards the defense that was jeopardizing the integrity of the entire court proceeding. Miss Hansen, I am advising you, do not argue with counsel, and specifically, do not argue with the court, he said. Are cameras on? She responded. No, they are not. We are on the record. You will not argue with the court. You will not argue with counsel. They have the right to ask questions. Your job is to answer them, Cahill said. America is falling to pieces under the yoke of multiculturalism. It may not be possible for certain racial groups to receive a fair trial in America before long. And my green screen's gone because we have Emmanuel hopped in the screen, and it always sometimes it messes up my screen when someone hops in. Sometimes it does it, sometimes it doesn't. It's no biggie. No big deal. We're back on the green screen. Let me check and make sure I got a Emmanuel. I'm not seeing a super chat, bro. Are you? I see you sent me okay, you're an Entropy developer. Are you the CEO guy? Oh, cool. I mean, you can hop on if you want. So I'll make an exception. No need to send a what's going on, Emmanuel? I got you live.
Oh, you do? Okay.
Yeah. I appreciate you had actually you signed that one petition that I had out for our bishop one time. So
yeah, well, I looked into the website and it looked awful, to be honest. I couldn't believe that it was a thing, but yeah. Sorry, I was a bit curious. It's good to sort of check in. Sometimes you see interesting setups, and I thought, well, I saw your topic was in all tech, so I thought, well, maybe I'll check it out. Sorry, I literally just tuned in. What were the topics for today?
Oh well, right now I kind of talked about. I started out with a little kind of a monologue, just talking about political persecution via alt tech, and how we can what to do about it, and
if there's one person who's interested in knowing what to do about political persecution and alt tech, it's me. So if you wouldn't mind letting me know some of your thoughts on it, I'd certainly be interested.
Well, I've kind of toyed around with the idea of building. My solutions have been pretty basic, honestly. Like, let's pressure our elected officials on multiple levels. Local, county, state, federal. Like, let's put the pressure on them. Shift to alternative platforms. Build our build a stronghold online on our own little corners. Of course,
what platforms are you a part of that you like?
I'm on Gab, Twitch, which is actually built on. Of course, it's not a big platform. I don't have a big following there, but I like Twitch. It's built on blockchain. It's like Twitter on blockchain.
I haven't even heard of this.
Yeah, and figuring out ways like alternatives to payment processors and banking. Banking, we're getting debanked. We're getting kicked off of MasterCard. We're getting our payment processors are getting messed up. So I think incorporating some crypto is which honestly, like if you could figure that out for Entropy, that'd be pretty cool.
Well, I actually had a conversation with another streamer yesterday on our Discord about this topic, because I'm actually, unfortunately, a bit of a crypto skeptic. I've got my main concern with crypto is I don't think it's quite ready as a technology to be a replacement to credit cards, because of its transactions per second is quite low. I mean, I think with Bitcoin it's something like 7 per second.
I would generally agree with you, but there are like BSV performs a heck of a lot better with
BSV,
transactions. Yes. And I had it's called Bitcoin SV, Bitcoin Satoshi Vision.
Now, this isn't one of those cryptocurrencies that's sort of fake. It has the cryptocurrency in the backing, and then it has the live.
No, it's real. But it's persecuted. It's because of its capabilities, it's a threat to like MasterCard, and MasterCard has a lot of interest in Bitcoin for somewhere,
Yeah.
So, which is why you should be a skeptic of the main coins. So I'll email you an article that actually I published on my website. I'm not the writer, but I did an interview with Kurt about kind of the history of crypto and he's a BSV guy. And so
I personally think that sort of the end direction. So the credit card companies, from what I've heard, most of the ways in which the credit card companies have been deplatforming is through basically pressure on payment processors, because as far as I know, it's kind of illegal for them to outright ban people themselves, because they basically have a monopoly. But it's only basically a monopoly. There are in fact other credit card companies that may not be so quick to censor, and my hope is that if credit card companies do start to get very censorious, that there will be eligible alternatives. Like if you go and, next time you're going to pay something with a credit card, look at the number of credit cards that are actually available for use on one of these machines. You'll see that there's, I think it's JSV is one of the common ones. There are credit cards from all over the place that you can use in your everyday transactions that still function, and some of them are from other countries that hopefully are not too concerned about domestic U.S. political issues. So I do have hopes that there may be some progress in that kind of a direction.
Yeah, and I've been looking into alternatives to like I don't like view. I mean, I'm skeptical of the main coins like crypto too in the same way, because I mean it's like MasterCard behind most of the main coins and driving the price up. And so I am interested in some of the alternatives like BSV, and especially because it's a very good technology. You can do a lot with it, and it really does solve the transaction problem.
Well, I will definitely look into it, because I'm it's the technical issue that has prevented me from or people here at Entropy from really pursuing it hard. And yeah, so if somebody has actually solved those issues, I would be very interested in looking into it.
Yeah, I think if there is one that's capable of like being utilized for super chats and stuff, it's definitely BSV.
The other direction that's sort of so Gab a while back was using Coinbase to process cryptocurrency, and they ended up having an issue where Coinbase banned them. and that made it kind of challenging, or it opens up another avenue for where you might end up getting in trouble. My sort of direction I've thought of going to solve the payment issue is that there's been one alt tech company that seems to have figured this one out, and it's Subscribestar. They, a few years back, had all of their payment processes pull out on them. They moved to something else, and they haven't had any problems since. And so it's a very interesting case because it's sort of an aberration in an otherwise fairly consistent pattern. And I will admit I actually don't know who their payment processor is, despite doing a tremendous amount of digging, which I think should tell you something, which is that the way that they're getting away with it is that they've obfuscated it to an extent that because I think what's really going on is the payment processors themselves don't really care so much, but when they start to get letters and get calls, that's they don't want to be in the limelight, and so they just kick the person off.
Yeah.
The other thing that I think happens a lot is that most of the time when individual companies sign up with these payment processors, their payment volumes are very small. And so the companies don't really think too much about kicking them off because the payment volumes are small. And so I think there's, I think that you sort of run into this issue where you kind of need to stay under the radar for long enough that payment processors think twice about kicking you off because of the amount of revenue that they get from your company. So I think that is the direction that I think that's the direction that more alt tech companies should go. Because one of the things that if you look into it, there are thousands of payment processors. I find it hard to believe that every single one of them is going to be extremely censorious. It's just, you can't really know going in. It's not like they advertise that. So my hope is that eventually word of mouth, somebody finds a payment processor that they realize doesn't want to censor them, because but it'll just take people implementing a lot of payment processors, controversy happening, and people getting kicked off till we eventually find out who's willing to do something like that.
So. Yeah, that's true. Coinbase was interesting though. Never trust the exchanges ever, but particularly Coinbase is basically one of their main investors behind it. One of their main shareholders is MasterCard. So you should always keep your money in a wallet. Like once you exchange, put your money in a secure wallet. So,
well, it's I've noticed this a few interesting situations. Like, so recently, I don't know if you heard, but we've had some people that have been trying out Odysee, and somebody got kicked off of Odysee, which I was kind of shocked at, because I thought the whole point of the library system and Odysee was that you couldn't get kicked off. But of course, Odysee is sort of a conglomerator of library content, so it's not quite the same thing. Turns out Odyssee's owned by Google.
Oh.
So, it's like no surprise that day one somebody transfers over and they're banned instantly. I think that the amount of companies that are actually owned by bigger tech companies that we already have a knowledge of how they work is one of the serious problems. It's like that with groceries too, where the number of different brands that are actually just the same company, brand proliferation, kind of makes it hard to realize that you're just dealing with the same people you were before.
Yeah. Huh. Well, I know a lot of people. I made an Odysee. I didn't know it was owned by Google.
Yeah, I know. I didn't either until somebody got banned, and I was like, why did they ban him so fast?
Huh. Interesting.
Yeah. Google bought him a few years back.
Do they? I mean, I know. Do they still have a degree of autonomy? How does that work?
So usually they do have a degree of autonomy, but they can. So one of the things that does exist is here. There's a link to the. So this happened all the way back in 2015. So what actually is going on with a lot of the big tech censorship is they do have sort of shared databases where they blacklist people. And that's how you see these situations where one guy gets banned and then he's banned from all the platforms at once. There have been people that have confirmed that the software does exist that's essentially like a tech blacklist. And you get on there and then you find all your social media gets taken down within a couple days. And so I think that what happens is that something like Odysee probably has a degree of independence from Google, but they probably are hooked into these sorts of pieces of software that are provided for them, and that's how they catch people and they ban them so quickly. That's my guess. I don't know, but usually, there's not much point to buying a separate company and then completely dismantling it. So they likely do have an amount of autonomy.
Huh, that's interesting. Well, I got that. I'll have to share that article. We'll have to get the word out. But
yeah,
I don't know. It's a cool platform. So I'm kind of that's kind of upsetting. It's like, what?
Yeah. Well, the good news is that from a technical perspective, it's something we may even pursue at some point. To make a competitor to Odysee, it's just the library protocol seems good. It doesn't seem like it can be censored. The key is you just have to make a way to some software that conglomerates all of the available content and displays it to your users in a convenient way. And so, but much of the issues of storage and other things that exist with trying to create like a YouTube competitor don't exist with making an Odysee replacement. So there's still hope in that direction. It's something we may even pursue at some point. We're mostly focused on live streams right now, and we are pursuing our own live streaming protocol. So that sort of dominated our time for the time being. But once that's done, it's definitely something that would be worth considering for us, because it would cost us very little, and somebody's got to do it.
Well, that's I obviously support your efforts. You guys have been pretty handy for me with especially before I was monetized, and I don't expect to be monetized long on YouTube because but,
yeah.
But especially I'm gonna get some more attention soon because I'm my new, I don't want to spill the beans live, but a new project will be putting me in the limelight soon. So
well, I saw you already got the ire of Orthodoxy in Dialogue, so
yeah.
I checked back at their site a couple times, and yeah, they've done a couple of nice pieces on you. Have you read them yet?
I don't know. I haven't been paying attention to if there's any new ones. I usually read them. People send them to me. I've been on Right Wing Watch too, so because I was Lauren Witzke's.
That's pretty big.
I was on her campaign. I was her campaign manager, right. And so they went after me and smeared me, and it's all it's all fun. So it's gonna happen I'd say there'll probably be a new flurry of attacks in the next month because of my new project. So I don't mind. I mean, I find it mostly amusing because it's all verifiably false for the most part.
So none of it's really affected your life in any way?
Well, I've been banned from a few dating apps. But that's more of an increase in quality of life, honestly. I obviously I have to be more. Selecting employment, employment is a little difficult. I have to work with people who are willing to tell people to F off when the pressure comes on.
Yeah, and that's unfortunately fewer and far between.
Yeah, but I mean, it's not as bad as you would think, because I think years ago people took that stuff more seriously. But I think the credibility of the media has been hurt to a degree where my life really is. I can function mostly normal. I don't, and even political people on the other side of the political spectrum. Some of them will read this stuff and not take it seriously. So
Interesting. Well, we operate up out of Canada, and so definitely there it's still very damaging to get any of that happening to here. Pretty much nobody will stand up for you. Where it does look like there's still people that will stick up for you in the States publicly.
Yeah, I mean, we still have I can't believe some of the stuff happening up in your country. I just
Oh man, yeah.
like the I don't even know if I can say it because you're Canadians. I don't want to get you in trouble. So
go ahead.
Well, if like the gender, like the preferred pronoun laws, and like that's insane.
Yeah,
that's just.
Yeah. And what's even sort of more disheartening is that there is actually legitimately no conservative movement in Canada. If you talk about anything more than sort of taxes on the right wing in Canada, you're kicked out. We just had one of the leadership candidates for our Conservative Party get kicked out for. It wasn't even like he'd done anything. He had just expressed mild levels of social conservatism, and he was kicked out. So there's, and it's kind of shocking because it wasn't too long ago where, when Barack Obama was president and we had Stephen Harper, and Stephen Harper was a genuine conservative through and through. We can have your complaints about him, and I certainly do, but for the most part, he was a genuine conservative and put forth genuine conservative values. To sort of see the country so quickly shift to a place where genuine conservatism is unacceptable, even in presumably conservative circles, is it's really a shame.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously they're trying to push it that rapidly here with the FBI, utilizing the FBI and the military and the DHS. But fortunately, and I have sources within all of these branches of government, and there's more pushback. They're not really seceding, and I think we have a chance. Like I know I'm in the America First movement, which is actual real conservatives. The Republican Party the establishment tries to do the same thing. They'll kick you out. Fortunately, the structure here is a little different. Like I can't be kicked out of the Republican Party because I'm registered as a Republican. So it's impossible to kick someone out of it's just the way that it works in the U.S.
Huh. Well, that's good, because the reason that candidate that I was telling you about, his name's Derek Sloan. You can look up the story if anyone's interested. Was that somebody gave him a donation, and as you know, like political parties, like you don't check who gives you money. You're just happy to get money because you're a political party, and so what they went through the people who had donated in the party, and they found that one of them, this was the Conservative Party themselves, went through the donations, found somebody that was right wing, and then used that as an excuse to kick him out of the party. It's really shocking.
Wait, really? That's insane.
Yes.
No, I mean, of course we have regulation. Like we can't receive money from people in other countries. We have FEC guidelines, but I mean,
nothing. It was nothing. It was just that this guy had politics that were a bit outside the mainstream, that had donated to them, and that was enough. It's interesting you say that. I'm kind of curious. I've been watching, sort of as best as I can, this Matt Gaetz story. Do you have any thoughts on that? Because from what I can read, it sounds pretty insane.
I saw the interview with Tucker. I don't know what to think, honestly, because I've obviously I worked in politics, so I hear all the rumors, and some of the rumors about Matt Gaetz were not the most savory rumors, but they also didn't involve minor females. I heard rumors of a sexual preference that were not aligned with female.
I see. So you're immediately skeptical of this story.
Yeah, I'm skeptical of that, but I've also, like, obviously he said he had a girlfriend in that interview, so I mean maybe those were not true rumors either. I don't know, man. I just and it's such a weird story. It's hard to tell what's like. It's difficult enough to discern reality from truth now with everything. So it's I don't necessarily trust the guy, Matt Gaetz. I like his expressed politics, obviously.
Yeah.
He did refuse to endorse my previous candidate after talking to her on the phone like 5 times and kind of stringing us along.
I see.
So there's that. I don't know. That's I don't know what's real in regards to that. So I don't.
Yeah, well, that's part of the reason I find it so surprising is that so many presumable organizations that pretend they care about their reputation have gone so hard into a story that I don't even know which direction it will eventually turn out to be. What will eventually turn out to be true in this situation seems like a bit of a risk to it's like a few years ago when the Steele dossier came out, and even the extremely left-wing news organizations didn't want to post it just because it was so clearly an iffy source. I'm a bit surprised that they would, at this point, choose to go so all in to a story that really could cut either way.
Yeah. I mean, if Gaetz is correct, they're going to look like morons. So.
Yeah, well, for sure. I mean, it will be. I'm sure that this sort of extortion goes on, but to have it so public, where everyone will know about it because everyone paid so much attention to the story, because this story was pushed so hard, I don't know what will come of that.
I mean, if he was telling the truth, perhaps they may have like figured out that they were about to set him up, the guy who was trying to extort money, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then so they leaked it. They leaked to the press because they found out that the FBI was basically going to record them.
Yeah, he's released some of the Matt Gaetz' father has released some of the text messages, and essentially they're saying that they're trying to. They were trying to rescue some hostage in Iran, but the U.S. government was blocking their rescue attempts, and so they needed to have $25 million wired to them so that they could attempt another rescue of this Iranian hostage. It was like the Nigerian prince of extortion attempts. It was quite the elaborate tale they were telling.
That's weird. That's just weird. But anyways, thanks for coming on. That was an interesting chat. It's like a surprise guest from the developer of Entropy. So an honor to have you. I'm gonna
thanks for letting me on. It's good to chat with you.
Thank you. We'll have to bring you on as an official guest one day and talk about these tech issues. And have you on for a full hour. That would be good. So
yeah, that'd be cool.
And hopefully we get some Entropy chats during that episode. You know? I think March was actually my biggest month for money coming from you guys. So
well,
yeah.
Good to hear it. I hope you keep growing.
Oh, thank you. I think I will. Well, if I don't get completely banned, because bringing Milo on later in the month.
Really?
Yeah, he's
Wow.
coming on towards the end of April. I know Lauren Witzke's going to come on at some point this month. And
Okay.
of course, my profile will increase from a totally separate project. So,
well, that
yeah,
sounds
it's
very
gonna be.
exciting. I will definitely be keeping an eye on it.
Ah, thank you. Well, I'll get in touch. I'll shoot you an email. We'll get you on. So
Yeah, sounds good.
So, well, thank you. Thanks for hopping in. And of course, everybody, thank you for watching and supporting the show. And no more shows this week, but I will see you all next week.